Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to our first live studio filming of Moo with the View. We are joined today by the iconic Peach Fuzz.
Thanks.
Can I try that again?
Please.
Okay. Sorry, I wanted to say something else after iconic, but I couldn't think of another adjective. But we're joined by the iconic Peach Fuzz today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Good.
Yeah.
You ready?
Never been more ready.
Okay, so I got a list of questions here. We're going to go through them.
Okay.
All right. First question. Is there a distinction between art and drag?
Well, I think they're kind of two different things in a sense because, drag is an art at its core. So fundamentally, I don't think they're different things. I just think drag fits inside of art. And everybody's definition of drag is completely different, and what they express in drag is emotionally driven a lot of times and tied to artistic expression. Certainly that's the case for me, and I think for you too as well. We're makers, and we put a lot of ourselves into our art. So I think it's a type of art for sure. I definitely think they're intertwined.
Do you think all drag is art and vice versa?
That's tricky. I do think that all drag is art at its core. Obviously, not all art is drag.
I don't know if it's that obvious.
I don't know. I don't think so. Although, the most famous drag queen in the world, RuPaul, says that you're born naked and the rest is drag. So I guess everything is drag if you really broaden the definition in that way. Although I will say that not all drag is art that can be appreciated by everybody. There's certain types of drag that I don't necessarily relate to in the same way that my drag relates to my art, and certain people get different connections out of things. There are queens that enjoy horror and presenting horror in their drag, and that's definitely not me. I can appreciate that as an art, but it's not made for me. And I can acknowledge that and move on. So not all drag is art for everybody, that's for sure.
So what does drag mean to you then?
Well, drag for me is a way for me to put out some of the chaos that's in my brain in a fully formed vision. So I get to create everything from the numbers that I'm doing, to the hair that I'm wearing, to the outfits that I'm wearing, to what it looks like. Peach is essentially my muse in a way. So I love to play dress up with Peach and figure out what that looks like. And it's kind of an amalgamation of what's going on in my brain. Lots of chaos, lots of color, big shapes, big silhouettes, noise all the time. I'm very loud and in the way that I dress and in the way that I talk. And so for me, it's a way to channel a lot of that repressed queer energy of my personality that I've learned to tame for so long as an adult to sort of get through the heteronormative world and work an office job and things like that. So allows me to express all of those things in a way that's productive to me and in a way that I get a lot of fulfillment out of.
I'm really glad you brought up heteronormativity, because this next question is, what is the straightest object you own?
The straightest object I own. That is really hard. I think probably, so I own no, that's not even gonna count. I was gonna say I own my dad's old bar poster. It's a Miller Lite poster from the 90s, but it's covered in glitter, so there's no way that's straight at all. I think I have a ladder. That's pretty straight.
I don't know, there's a top and a bottom to a ladder.
You know what? That's a good point. I own some sports jerseys.
That's all gay. They touch butts all the time.
They do, yeah. I don't know. Everything's gay these days. I don't know. One straight thing.
Yeah, nothing's straight.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So, what is a goal that you had with your drag that you've already completed?
Well, it's recent. I'm now doing drag full time as Peach, and thank you. I left my office job in I left my office job in October, and I've worked really hard for a long time to like be able to get here. I've been doing drag 6 years, and like drag in Cleveland is so small comparatively to like cities like Chicago or New York or LA, where those are like big, or even Columbus, where like you can make it as a full-time entertainer if you know how to do business and how to market yourself as a business person first. And I'm proud of the fact that I've been able to do that here in Cleveland. And so I think that was a huge accomplishment for me. And so I'm very proud of that. And I'm proud of the business relationships that I've gotten to get from getting to know all the different producers and places that have given me a spot to perform and do things. So yeah, I think that's probably my, at least at this point in my life, my biggest goal that I'm able to achieve with drag.
Now, what is something that you've done that drag brought to you that you never imagined you would do?
Oh, the Care Bears, for sure. I got to work with the Care Bears in June of 2020. I just happened to know the right person and be in the right place at the right time. And I helped introduce Togetherness Bear to the world for Pride last, well, I guess it would be 2 years ago at this point. And that was a really surreal moment. We had it was something I had never done in drag before. They wanted me to host a round table with 7 or so child actors, age 7 to like 13. And we were talking about what love means. And I know that that's a very contentious topic right now in the gay scene, is like drag queens around kids, which is complete bullshit, by the way. But at the moment, it was very surreal to me that I was going to be, and very nerve-wracking, that I was going to be in drag on a national platform talking to kids about love.
Yeah.
And it was all improv. They were like, we got there that day and they sat me down in the chair with the child actors and they're like, yeah, just we're gonna start rolling and just ask the kids, go around and ask the kids what they think and just have a conversation. And all the parents of the kids are in the other room watching us on big screen TV.
Shit.
So I'm like, shit. But it was amazing. And like, it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life because I got to do something that felt very like professional and impactful.
Yeah.
And it was for me. It was really impactful for me. And I can't believe that I've gotten to do that. 13-year-old me would never in a million years guess that I would be introducing a Care Bear to the world. So yeah, that was dope.
Yeah, that does sound pretty dope.
It was cool. Yeah, you can see it on YouTube. It's there.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
Also, it looks like we got the Care Bear over there.
Oh yeah, it's over here. That's Togetherness Bear in all her glory. She's gorgeous. Walmart original. I guess you have to bleep that, right?
Yeah, we
can't see the
no
brain.
sponsorship.
We have to
Did
bleep
you have
the
to
whole
buy
Care Bears
that?
thing? No, I didn't have to buy it. I was gifted a Care Bear. I would have bought it. I would have purchased it. Check under your stool.
Yeah, check on your stool.
Oh yes, I would love to have my Oprah moment like that. But yeah, that was a pretty cool one.
So, do you think drag is political?
Oh fuck yeah. At its core, drag is absolutely political. It always has been. Whether or not you're like an activist out on the front lines or not, just inherently being in drag is political in itself. Talking about like gender norms and things like that, which are of course right now a very hot button issue. So I think that like just presenting in a way that defies the social norms of like masculine and feminine and like are you a boy or are you a girl is very powerful and very political, and obviously very political because it's stoking anger in people who don't want to see us thrive or live for that matter. And so, yeah, it's political. And now, so more than ever, you're seeing drag entertainers, kings, queens, non-binary gals and pals, all of us around trying to like rally and stand around each other and protect each other and just be there for each other in a way. And drag queens are a physical symbol of that, I think. Drag entertainers, we put ourselves not necessarily in the front lines, but we're very visible entities of our community. And people look to us to be leaders in a way, and so we have to lead, and we have to speak out when shit is not right,
Yeah.
and protect each other. And so, yeah, fuck yeah, drag is political. It always has been, it always will be.
Do you think that's a sentiment that majority of drag queens believe in?
I think that's an interesting conversation because I think that used to be the case before RuPaul's Drag Race, which really, I think Drag Race is a really contentious topic, but it brought a lot of good into the world, and it brought a lot of shadow with it as well. The good thing is it propelled drag to like a national platform. It was very accessible to people in a way that it had never really been before, which was great. The negative of that is now, you know, it has influenced drag culture as a whole. The show has influenced drag culture. And so you get a lot of newer entertainers who come into it who want to do drag because they want to do RuPaul's Drag Race. And so I think it's probably like a 70-30. I think 70% of drag entertainers do understand that core value, especially if you've been doing it for... Drag takes a lot of rigor, and like a lot of the new entertainers that come into it don't last a year because it's so much work and you have to and so much money, you know, and you constantly have to be putting yourself out there. And so the people that make it, I think, inherently get it. And when you're in dressing rooms, like these are the conversations that the queens are having, and it's incredibly relevant right now.
So do you think, sorry, I'm gonna refer back to my question because I just lost my train of thought. What's been your most embarrassing moment of your performance career?
Oh my God.
So I just stumble on my question.
I've had a bunch, okay, for a while.
Just that mine.
For a while, right? For a while, I was known as the queen of spilling drinks in Cleveland because it was like 2 years in a row. It was like every show I was doing, I was knocking a drink out of someone's hand during my number, and that was always just embarrassing. I think I've definitely pissed my pants on stage. Listen, okay, you were in,
yeah,
not for art. It was not for art. It was not for art.
So profound. It really is political.
It really is political, right? Yes, my piss pants would agree for sure. We were wearing a lot of layers, and I had to go to the bathroom. I'm a nervous peer, so I had to go to the bathroom before my number, as I do always. But usually I can just soak it back in to my innards, but this time I could not, and
soak it back in?
I was soaking it back out this time, but yeah, so I've peed myself in drag several times, I think.
Do you have a favorite pee in drag moment?
Yeah, absolutely. It was mostly just embarrassing for me because I'm not even kidding, was standing in front of the urinal and I peed my pants. I just couldn't get it off fast enough. I like finished my number, immediately bolted down the stairs. We were at the Symposium, which is over in Lakewood on Detroit. And you have to like, there's a bathroom upstairs and there's a secret bathroom downstairs. And so I was running to the secret bathroom, but it had already been discovered by half the bar. So it was filled pretty much. So I cut in front of everybody. Some gracious young woman was going to let me go in front of her, and which she was going to use the urinal, which is crazy. But she let me cut in front of her, and I'm ripping through layers trying to get off, and I was wearing like a really strappy garment that I had to like undo all the straps on, and I was on the very last strap and about to pull my tights down, and I lost it, and I couldn't. I couldn't
just
stop.
Happened.
So I had to leave the event after that. And that was just last year. So we're doing great. We're doing really good.
Was that the last time you pissed yourself?
Was that the last time I pissed myself? I mean, now that I'm getting into my geriatric age, I have to let a little dribble out here and there. But that was definitely the last time I full on pissed myself.
What has been your most rewarding moment of performance?
Oh boy. Okay, my most rewarding. So this is not really a moment of performance, but my most rewarding moment of drag. This is a little bit of a story, but it means a lot to me. So I moved to Parma recently, and Parma is known in Ohio as sort of an old-fashioned suburb. There's a lot of racism that still exists there, and so I've always, since I moved there, felt a little nervous to share a lot of the queer parts of myself, like hang a pride flag and like when I'm leaving my house in drag, I always feel really nervous. Well, it was last June. I was heading to a Pride show at the Foundry, and I'm in my little Kia Soul in full drag. And I'm pulling out of my driveway, and there is this kid who's probably 14 or 15, a queer kid, I'm assuming. Very looked like they were figuring it out, and we made eye contact, and they just sort of were like, "Oh my God, like your makeup looks amazing, you look so good," and they were gushing, and I rolled my window down, and we just like had a little bit of a moment of it was just a thank you and move on, but I could tell that they were very moved by seeing someone just like out on the street that was gay and proud and crazy looking, and that for me was like a big turning point in my drag, because I was like, okay, yeah, this does mean something for people, and this is like, when you were 13 and very deeply in the closet, like you would have gotten so much joy from seeing something like this, and to now like be in that position has been really, really rewarding to me. And like that moment was sort of like a very realized physical look at that, and that's sort of just stuck with me. I think it'll always stick with me as like a moment that really made me feel like, because there are times I want to quit drag, always. And that's a moment that I will come back to for sure and remember that's why I do it.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of queens have moments like that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we get to be the superheroes for the kids that we didn't have growing up, entertainers, and I think a lot of us feel that like love and joy that we get on stage from like while we're performing from audience members, and like take that as warmth for our soul, and I think we get a lot out of that, yeah. A lot of entertainers do.
What's a hot take that you have on drag?
A hot take, like about aesthetics of drag, or
Let's start
like...
there. Yeah, let's just really rip apart drag right now. So we'll go step by step.
Okay, well, let's see. I don't think flat shoes are a bad thing in drag. Hot take.
I'll echo that.
A lot of people are like, you have to wear heels. You have to wear heels to be a drag queen. Moo. But I think you can get away with a slumpy, dumpy Frankenstein heel.
Oh yeah, you're getting away with it.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
am getting away with it.
All right, hot take on popular drag queens.
Hot take on popular drag queens.
Yeah, tear someone's career down. End it.
I think, well, I'll say this. I think the hot take is that you have to be an amazing trickster to perform the house down and get money and invoke a reaction from people. I don't think you have to do that. Like, I think there is such an art to doing ballads, which is a hot take. Some people hate watching a ballad, but I think they can be done in a way, and not saying that I'm amazing at it, but I think they can be done in a way that really conveys emotion in a way that a high energy dance number cannot do. I love those numbers personally, and I do some of those numbers, but I think you can really get away with like a good ballad.
Is that a ballad?
I guess so.
Okay, hot take. We already did aesthetics. Locally, in the Cleveland scene, any hot takes on our drag?
I think our drag is quite diverse in terms of the types of drag we give. There's a lot of old school queens who deliver like pageant excellence, who I've learned from and who I've done amazing things with. There's also really alternative entertainers here who do shit like stapling themselves with money and, you know, giving themselves enemas on stage or something like that, which is not even a joke. What was the question? Hot take about local scene.
Yeah.
It's super weird. I think we're in an evolutionary period right now. Like, I think the Cleveland drag scene is sort of in a transition. Like,
Okay.
we're seeing a couple new bars open up with Studio West, and like, that's really, I know a lot of people have strong opinions about Studio West and what it's doing. And there's definitely some divisiveness between some of the entertainers currently in the climate, and I think it's important to talk about it. Like everybody
Yeah,
sweeps it under the rug,
Can you
but
dive into that?
well, I just think
Yeah.
I think anytime there's a new space that opens up that's queer friendly, or it's quite literally a gay bar. It's not a straight bar that's catering to queer events, but I think anytime those spaces open up, it creates conversation around the stuff that's already there, and I feel like you're in a really hard job doing that because you're trying to put some sort of new culture together in a new space, something new that into an existing fabric that already exists. And I think that's challenging because you have to have the right people in the right places to be making decisions that have an understanding of like what that existing fabric is. And so I think a lot of people's feelings can get hurt from decisions that can get made from some of these new establishments. Not saying that one in particular, but just like anytime a new gay space opens, I think it's really difficult to navigate that path. And I think we're seeing that right now in the Cleveland scene as a whole. It's like people trying to understand where they fit into this and how it works and how it's going to impact the future of the scene.
What do you want the future of the Cleveland scene to be?
Oh, I want it to be explosive. I mean, I think it already is so cool. And I say it's sort of transformative because when Bounce closed in 2016, which was sort of the like gay club of Cleveland before, there wasn't really a whole lot of like gay spaces to go to, and the spaces that existed were very, I don't want to say exclusive to certain groups, but like catered heavily towards like the existing clientele that they already had. So you get a lot of divey gay bars like the Hawk and Leather Stallion and places like that, but there wasn't really like a central hub for everybody to go. It was very niche groups, and so with like Studio West opening up, that's like adding more to that. And Lakewood used to have like 20 or so gay bars back in the day. I've heard like, where the hell are all of those? Like, where are the lesbian bars? Where's all of that shit? You know what I mean? Like, we need that, and so I'd love to see that in the Cleveland gay scene as a whole. I'd love to see the East Side incorporate more gay things over there. There's really only a couple things over on the East Side. Everything lives over on the West Side. And so I'd love to see it sort of expand into the East Side, but also grow and compete with cities like Columbus and Chicago and LA as having some of the best drag in the world, because I think we do, and nobody knows about it.
Well, they will now after watching this. Welcome to Cleveland.
Right.
So on a more serious note, marry, fuck, kill 3 Cleveland performers.
Marry, fuck, kill 3 Cleveland performers. Okay, well, I will marry Jolie Black. That is my woman. I love her. If you haven't seen Jolie perform, she is amazing. She will murder you with her dance moves, but she is also like the sweetest baby angel that's ever existed on the planet. Her energy is so nice. So I'll marry her. I will kill Anadonia Delight because we work together the most, and I would love to have some of her costumes.
You want the spotlight.
I want the costumes.
Okay.
And the wigs.
Yeah.
I want those wigs. That's a big one. And then who am I gonna fuck? Ooh, this is a tough question.
Getting juicy.
Oh my god, it would be Ryder Slowly, I think.
Yeah.
He is so fine. Oh my god. Ryder is another entertainer you should see. He is so sexy, and like, my gosh, watching him do Pony is just orgasmic. It's lovely. Thank you. Thank you for fanning me. I'm about to flood this the studio here.
There you go.
Yeah, he's hot. Check him out.
So, what are your thoughts on like Cleveland's like bar scene when it comes to like, I guess, spaces for you to perform in, the spaces you do perform in, and all that?
Well, there's gay spaces that have events like at Twist every Thursday. Malibu Peru hosts a night there every single Thursday with rotating casts and a rotating host as well. Then there's a couple other places as well. For me, my shows have become fairly niche, and so like I host a lot of bingos, or like I host a sausage making class, like a cooking class. So a lot of my drag has moved to like not necessarily gay space or queer spaces, but like straight-owned spaces that are catering to queer events, which has been interesting to say the least. Sometimes uncomfortable for sure. We've had to have a lot of open and honest conversation, about what it means to bring queer events into a queer space, because we don't want to be a commodity. And drag is hot right now, and we don't want people to just we want you to understand that we want to feel safe in your space, and that we're going to be bringing queer people to your space, and they need to feel safe too. So that's been interesting. But I will say, on the flip side of that, I've gotten to know some amazing business owners like Melissa Kuri, who owns Saucy Son, which is the butcher shop that I do the sausage class, and the owners of the Foundry Concert Club, Ray and Lisa. We have had a great working relationship over the years, and they have really helped me with my career and everything. And so it's I've gotten to work with some, and Lindsay at Flight, the list goes on and on. It's just, I've gotten to foster some incredible relationships with some badass people in Cleveland who know how to do business better than I do. And it's made me a smarter business person in that way.
So what does it mean to you, at least, to create this queer space within a straight space, and for the queer people to feel safe? What does that look like?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's you have to feel comfortable being your authentic self, no matter what that presents or no matter what that's like. And in terms of masking behaviors and mannerisms, you shouldn't have to feel you have to do that in that space to feel comfortable. So whether that's creating an atmosphere of the people that are in the space, or making sure that your staff is using the correct pronouns for entertainers, and just being respectful in general, that's a huge thing. It's a lot of straight people's first time around queer entertainment, drag in particular, and so it can be a lot for people to take in. So feeling respected is the biggest thing. And feeling listened to, because things do happen in certain spaces like this, and if something does happen, you need to feel comfortable with the owner telling them that, and then being able to remove said person. So I think that's what it looks like. It comes down to respect and just a mutual understanding of what we're there to do.
Do you feel in Cleveland specifically that there's been a shift towards more straight spaces that are friendly and safe for queer people?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that Cleveland has grown a lot in the last 5 years in terms of businesses that are opening up, and there's a lot of queer adjacent people who love drag and want to have that in their space, and have opened their spaces up for this type of entertainment. And I'm very thankful for that, because it's brought us audiences that we've never been able to achieve. And so I think there has been a push for it in Cleveland, particularly over the last couple of years, for that to happen. Was there a second part to that? Was that the question?
I think that was the whole question.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely it's definitely become more of a popular thing, and it's become out of need. Really, there's just not a whole lot of gay spaces that were providing good budgets for shows. A lot of queer establishments want to pay you bottom dollar and want you to be bringing different numbers every single night and different looks, and drag is fucking expensive. And so it's a lot of these straight spaces were here's some money, here's a decent budget, and so that is you can do so much more with that. You can book more entertainers, you can elevate your drag, and so that is very attractive to a lot of us. And so it was really born out of necessity to build bigger shows and build a bigger scene. And so now it's sort of just become ingrained. It's in all of these different spaces. Brew Nuts, Flight, tons of venues in Lakewood. It's really stretched its arms very far into these spaces, which I think is great. We get to show these straight people how fun we can be.
Yeah, that.
And it's not that serious. You know what I mean? You don't have to be afraid of us. Everybody's afraid of drag queens. I guess we're intimidating.
Yeah, and some people look kind of scary.
Oh yeah, I mean that is true. We're big lady clowns, a lot of us. So.
Do you think with the kind of the growth of the queers in the straight space, do you think that's been improving or damaging to already existing queer spaces?
Damaging, for sure. I do think it's damaging because it's taking away business from those spaces in that way. We're not doing the shows there.
Yeah.
And that sucks. But it kind of is what it is right now. And I feel like that's why we're in this transitionary period of like, there are spaces that are trying to open up, and like Studio West is doing a show like almost every night of the week. Like, they're providing opportunities for people.
Yeah.
So it's like, that is great because it's putting sort of the money back in, the queer first spaces.
Yeah.
It's not just one night of the week. So, but I do think that there is, I think it would be unreasonable for me to not acknowledge that there's some damage in moving some of these shows to straight spaces.
Do you think with that move, it's allowed straight people to feel like they are entitled or able to access the queer spaces?
I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, because I don't know if some of those people who would feel like the queer spaces were off limits would change their mind about going to a queer space. They're still in their environment in the straight space. Like, it's still their environment.
Yeah.
It's not ours. We're guests in that space. And so, I don't know. I guess it depends on how that individual feels. But, I mean, I do think it emboldens their curiosity to want to get to know gay people more, queer people, and be in queer spaces. And with that often comes a lot of, a lack of respect in spaces. How many bachelorette parties have, ruined the number for entertainers? It's been plenty. So yeah, there's that. But I do think that there's an advantage to sort of me being in control in that room on a microphone. I'm running that room in that moment. And so if you say something sideways to me, I can come at you. And I have the mic, and everyone will hear it. So the level of embarrassment exists. And so that's nice because I can sort of instill some of that respect. At the top of every show, we go over a rule list. Don't touch the entertainers. Don't pull off my wig unless I ask you to. Like, just don't feel like you can grab at me. I'm not an object. Don't feel like you can grab at the bartender. Like, it's not your show. And so we get to run that for a minute. And so I like that we can sort of educate people who may not know and put somebody in their place who may not know that is acting out of line.
Yeah.
Because I do think that's impactful in learning.
So do you think, okay, this is going to be like a really long-winded question, so
Okay.
like, yeah, get comfy. So we're kind of like exploring some of like the issues, I guess, within the drag world. And my question is, do you think addressing like straight people within it, whether they're participating in drag or at drag shows, like do you think that is kind of like the hottest issue that we should be focusing on within the drag scene already?
No, I don't think it's the hottest issue we should be focusing on in the drag scene. I mean, there's so much, like, there's so many just nuanced issues
of growth.
Absolutely, that exist in the drag scene that are not necessarily like straight focused. Number one is like creating more diverse shows. Like, these all white casts gotta go. And we're at a point now where like we're having those conversations, but they need to be have had more. And increasing the diversity in shows, having plus size entertainers in shows, having kings in shows. It's taken a really long time for a lot of drag queens to understand that drag kings are just as fierce as they are. And so I think a lot of those issues should be tackled first before we're like, well, should the straights be allowed to enjoy this? I think drag is for everybody to enjoy.
Yeah.
If you get something out of it, that's great. That's absolutely what the goal was, for you to take something from a number or something somebody said, or if you're even just like inspired by someone's beauty. Like, I think that's powerful.
It is powerful.
Yeah.
So do you think there are like big efforts to those conversations, or is that kind of still underground? And
No, there are definitely efforts to those conversations. They are not happening. I think they could happen more frequently, but it's an interesting place in the drag scene, and that's not just exclusive to Cleveland, by the way. Like, that's literally everywhere. And so like the conversations are being had on a national platform, locally. So it's great to see, but I think we need to keep going, keep pushing at that, and making the shows and the spaces as good as they can be, and representing as many people as they can, and making it feel good for everyone.
Do you think there's like a lot of stereotypes placed onto drag queens and kings?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, from straight people and gay people alike. Like a lot of people think that drag queens are partiers, whether that's drugs or alcohol, and some of us are. I certainly am no stranger to a cocktail, but a lot of us are professionals, and we work really hard at our craft, and we take it very seriously. So I think there's that misconception. There's the conception, oh my gosh, number one, is that you have to be a cis male to do drag. Give me a fucking break. My God. Drag at this point is for literally everyone. It's an art, as we mentioned. Like, it's how you want to express, and that has nothing to do with who you love at the end of the day or your sex. Now, granted, it is rooted in queer culture, so like, you know, I think straight people doing drag is a little interesting. I won't say good or bad, just an interesting conversation to be had. But I do think that yeah, I totally forgot what we were talking about.
I kind of did too. Is there anyone in the audience remember?
What are we talking about?
Wow, no one's
Good.
paying
We're all on the
attention.
same page.
Shit.
Great.
Straight people doing drag.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Drag is for everyone. Right. Anybody can do drag. AFAB people absolutely can do drag. That's a huge conversation. Gay men, for some reason, I don't know why they have such an issue with that. But yeah, drag. So
misogynist.
Misogyny is the root at all of that for sure. Men love to hate women, but I think that that's a big misconception. Is that and drag has to look a certain type of way. Of course, I mean clearly we look very different in our aesthetics, and like we're both serving, both giving. So I think those are the big misconceptions. Fab.
Okay, well then you can all clap now.
Please clap. Oh no. It's gone.
Want me to get it?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
She's lonely down there.
Yeah,
Let her be.
Stuck too.
Oh.
Right, well, thank you everybody for
Yeah.
being here. Thank you, Peach, for sharing
Oh my
your
God.
deepest, darkest secrets.
Thank you so much. This is such a treat for me to be able to like get to dress up and do this wacky shenaniganery for money and for the love of random strangers. So thanks for coming out and like getting to know me a little bit. And if I will just add like really quickly, like one of the big reasons I do drag now is to like connect with community and like get to know the people that are in the city, and especially from different backgrounds and professions. And like this is one of those opportunities where like I get to be put in a space that I don't necessarily know the players, and it's really cool that I get to know some amazing artists and some new people. So thank you for giving me that opportunity.
It's the least I can do.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're done.
Thanks.
Came for a drag show. I'm not sure that's a drag.
It creates conversation around the stuff that's already there, and I feel like it's